This video is brought to you by the drugs that dentists use when they pull out your wisdom teeth. I think it's like Novocaine or something. You're gonna need a lot of Novocaine for this video. Trust me. Hello everybody, my name is Luke Sittenauer, and today I have the innate privilege of taking you through 10 of the worst horror movie sequels of all time. You read the thumbnail, you clicked on the video, you know what it's all about. But before going forward, I wanted to lay down some house rules. First rule in Fight Club: no one talks about Fight Club. Rule number 2, I'm only picking one sequel per franchise. If this weren't the case, this would just be a long list of Friday the 13th sequels. Rule 3, there are a lot of really obscure horror franchises out there, so I'm only sticking to popular ones so we can talk about films that everyone's familiar with. But trust me, a lot of these films are still really bad. And rule number 4, in an effort to make this as objective as possible, I'm going to be relying on some other sources like Rotten Tomatoes or some review sites just to make sure that these are definitively the worst horror movie sequels of all time. And the last rule, these are all horror movies, not horror comedies or thrillers or action horror, anything like that, just straight up horror. Scream 3, the Rotten Tomatoes score of 36%. For those of you who don't know, the original Scream movie shook the horror genre with its self-aware dialogue and its unique ability to flip cliches often associated with horror movies on themselves, and Scream 2 wasn't actually that bad either. But the third one, well, I'll let Empire Online's Clark Cole explain it to you. Quote, "It sucks so much that even passing vacuum cleaners stood around and applauded," end quote. Though in its defense, by the time filming came around, everything was ready: the sets, the cast, the production, except for one tiny little unimportant thing. No one bothered to write the screenplay, so they ended up having to write the screenplay along the way while they were filming it. So in layman's terms, they would film one scene and no one knew what was going to happen next because the script wasn't written yet. So they just kind of they wrote the script around the set that was already built. It's a disaster. Number 9, The Seed of Chucky, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 32%. So, quick side note, we're not going to actually use footage from this movie because A, it's really gross, and B, Universal Studios gets extremely territorial over their content, especially this film in particular, which is really weird because it's gross, but they like to demonetize videos that have Chucky, and specifically the Seed of Chucky, this movie, in the video. They like to demonetize those videos, so I'm not going to put any footage in there. So, I don't know what we're going to put in its place, but enjoy it. I was so close to putting the previous Chucky entry on this list, The Bride of Chucky, because it literally has a doll sex scene in the movie. But then I realized this movie, The Seed of Chucky, is in essence a feature-length version of the worst scene from the previous movie, while at the same time being so much worse. If you have trouble believing me, just watch the opening credits. Or don't. Probably don't. We do it so you don't have to. As hard as it may be, let's put aside all the weird sex jokes and the anatomically incorrectness. These special effects are garbage. The CGI is just terrible. That they've used on the dolls is so bad. I'm pretty sure I could do a better job. Have you seen the movie Don't Scream? I suck at this stuff, and it would have been better than this, man. Number 8, Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 20%. If it wasn't clear up to this point, you don't make a Freddy movie without Wes Craven, who's also the guy who did Scream. This is the third time they've tried to do it and failed. With characters that seem to be cut out of cardboard and motivations that are pathetic and cliche, it's hard not to waste time on the cheap gimmicks and unbuilt cameos, which include actors like Johnny Depp, Alice Cooper, and some other ones I can't remember right now. And the title, which promises to be the last installment, is a lie. It should be instead called The Worst Nightmare, because that is, in fact, the most accurate movie title of all time. Number 7, Poltergeist 3, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 18%. According to Common Sense Media, which by the way is a fantastic name, Poltergeist 3 is so bad it's good, even for a B-movie horror flick. Relying primarily on cheap scares through reflections and mirrors, which by the way I'm pretty sure only works on 12-year-olds, the third installment of the beloved franchise trades in the setting of the first two, the American suburbs, for a newly built state-of-the-art skyscraper, which does have 2 whole scares in it, I will give it that. Unfortunately, it also trades the tight-knit family dynamic from the originals that made those movies so good for some forced interactions with aunts, uncles, and distant cousins. Number 6, Paranormal Activity: The Ghost Dimension, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 14%. This is yet another horror film with the intention of being the last in the franchise, which for now it actually was. So that's kudos to that. But while the first couple of films in the series succeeded with camera subtlety, putting more of an emphasis on what was unseen rather than what was, the Ghost Dimension goes all out, showing us everything. I'm not even going to mention the bad, overacted characters or the poorly constructed plot, because that's a given at this point. Towards the end of the third act, we finally get a glimpse of the titular Ghost Dimension. It's just bad CGI that wasted 30 minutes of your life that you're never going to get back. Sorry. Number 5, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 13%. You would be forgiven if you didn't know that the immensely popular Blair Witch Project even had a sequel. Spoiler alert, it's not good, just like the other entries on this list. This particular sequel puts way too much emphasis on the seen as opposed to the unseen, and fails miserably in the process. There's not even a Book of Shadows, as the title suggests. This is past so bad it's good, and so much closer to just forget it ever happened. It's garbage. Go home. Number 4, Saw 3D, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 9%. Now, if you're like me, you probably never really liked any of the Saw movies. If you asked me what my favorite Saw movie was, I would probably say something that wasn't Saw that I actually liked. Evil Dead, maybe. But if you asked me what the worst Saw movie was, you'd be in luck. Back to Common Sense Media, Saw 3D relies mostly on extreme ghastly gore as its primary motivation, making all concerns secondary. In essence, it's more an endurance test than it is an actual movie. And that's all I'm going to say on this, because the next film is one I really love to hate, and I don't want to waste any time. Number 3, Jason Takes Manhattan, with an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes, baby. Okay. Where to start? Well, the film's title should be Jason Takes a Boat to Manhattan, because that's literally what it is up until the last 15 minutes. If that were the only problem, I might be willing to forget it, but it's not, so I won't. What it seems like is the producers of this movie are thinking, well, we literally done everything already, but we need to earn our paycheck, so what the heck? There are just so many weird things going on, least of which is not the bizarre visions of baby Jason. I haven't even mentioned the kills. Man, these kills are so laughable. The pinnacle of which is definitely the infamous head punch scene. It gets me every time. Number 2, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. The Rotten Tomatoes score of 6%. It is often said about sequels that it can't or won't live up to its predecessors. In the case of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers, it went one step further. Even on its own, unassociated from the original, it's still hot garbage. And even so, it's incredibly difficult to unassociate because it takes every possible chance to painfully remind us that it's part of the Halloween franchise. These reminders don't even help the plot at all. It seems the only reason for them would be fan service, which is definitely unearned. On top of all of that, the editing in this movie makes it worse than a home video. Again, watch, don't scream. That's better than this crap, okay? I dare you to make your own MIDI. After this video's done, go to your phone, look up a video from last Halloween or any Halloween at all, and I guarantee you that video is going to be vastly superior to The Curse of Michael Myers, okay? Do it. I dare you. Number 1, Jaws the Revenge, with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 0%. Alright, let's get a bit of context here. Movie 43 is widely accepted to be the worst movie of all time. It currently sits on Rotten Tomatoes with a 4%. Jaws the Revenge has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this movie, Jaws the Revenge, is worse than the worst movie of all time. Here's the plot. One of the original heroes died by a heart attack off screen before the movie even starts. His family moves to the Caribbean. However, they are followed by a descendant of the original shark from the original movie who's out for revenge. Do sharks feel revenge? Is revenge a feeling? Is it emotion? I don't know. Do sharks have emotions? I'm not sure. But one thing is sure, no one involved with this film put that much thought into it at all. Goodbye. Well, we made it. We survived. Give yourself a pat on the back. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Also, check out my short film, Don't Scream. I plugged that a couple times in here. It's better than all these movies, man. It might suck, but it's better than all these movies. Also, I'm making another one, Dawn of the Dark Ones. It's not out yet at the time of recording, and it might not be out at all. Something might happen, but I'm planning on it. I'm working on it. It should be out in about a week or so. Make sure to join our Facebook group, Casual Experts. If you like what you saw, make sure to contribute to us on Patreon. Link is in the description. Follow me on Instagram at TheLKX. This video is edited by Rebecca Bacon. You can follow her on Instagram at Becca J. Bacon. Until next time, I'm Luke Sitnow reminding you to be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.